Today on Investigate TV Plus, when it comes to used cars, experts say drivers may be left in the dark about the vehicle's history.
Both of these cars had been in previous accidents that they knew nothing about.
That is correct.
We have an in-depth look at the legal loophole and the fight to change a law.
When a car's been a rebuilt wreck and they're selling it, you're not going to be able to see it.
And how you can protect yourself from buying an unsafe set of wheels.
Plus, a sobering reminder to never drink and drive.
If it could affect our family, it can affect anybody.
The cost we all pay when lives are lost.
Then, this isn't your typical bike shop.
Somebody that needs a tire can come in and either pay $5 or work 20 minutes.
We take you to the shop, providing inspiration and transportation for those in need.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Millions of Americans drive used cars, but if you don't know the full history of that vehicle, it could put lives at risk. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. A consumer rights attorney says many drivers don't know if their car has been totaled, rebuilt, and then sold.
Investigative reporter Kristen Crowley has an in-depth look at the problem and shows us what you can do to ensure your safety.
Body shops take care of scratches, dents, plenty of cosmetic problems. But general manager of CarStar near Kansas City, Bobby Killian, has seen far more than that.
They will glue that plate back together and cut the airbag out so there's no airbag in there.
Serious, poor fixes, often invisible to the untrained eye.
So that plate's not supposed to be there.
Customers of Killian's body shop sometimes ask for workers to inspect a vehicle for evidence it's been in a wreck.
Structural integrity is what I would be concerned about.
Killian showed us a few examples of inadequate repairs after a crash. Obvious to him and his team, but not to his customer.
They basically just cut out a piece of fender and put some rivets in and saved $400 on this repair.
In both cases of these customers, both of these cars had been in previous accidents that they knew nothing about.
That is correct.
Luckily, these cheap fixes weren't major safety issues, but that's not always the case.
She's in the prime of her life. She is a young mother of two.
Destiny Biasi was killed by what her attorney, Andrew Parker Felix, says was a counterfeit airbag installed after a previous crash she knew nothing about. The federal government released a warning about those counterfeit airbags, saying they can and have sent metal fragments into people's chests, necks, and eyes, and have killed at least 3 people, including Destiny. But consumer rights attorney Bernard Brown says there's a much bigger issue than just counterfeit airbags.
That is a tiny slice of a huge, big problem, which is rebuilding totaled and badly wrecked cars, flooded cars, and reselling them.
When an insurance company declares a vehicle totaled, it's essentially saying the vehicle is worth less than it would cost to fix it. You might assume after that it ends up in a junkyard or is scrapped for parts. But according to the latest numbers we could find from the Department of Justice in 2001, 1.5 million totaled vehicles had been fixed and resold in the U.S. Brown says that's concerning.
You can make a totaled car, look okay and drive down the road okay pretty frequently without actually doing proper repairs underneath, without replacing airbags at all, or replacing them with counterfeit airbags.
The use of counterfeit airbags is on the rise, and so is the use of other counterfeit parts. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it seized more than 200,000 counterfeit auto parts in fiscal year 2024, almost double the previous year. Only about 400 of those were airbags. Tires, brake pads, even windshields, spark plugs, and suspension systems are examples of other counterfeit parts, all that put drivers at risk of injury or death. But Brown says incidents involving deadly or serious crashes in poorly rebuilt wrecks are widely underreported.
There's no mothers against wrecked cars. There's mothers against drunk drivers. The victims of these frauds are not organized because most of them don't know they're victims.
Felix agrees, saying a vehicle should not go back on the road after it's totaled.
It shouldn't be sent to an auction house, then sent to a third party, and then repaired, so it can somehow continue the life cycle and keep making money for parties 1 through 5 instead of just writing it off as a loss. That's where the greed has just completely overrun the system.
While there is no law against that, there is a law that is supposed to give drivers information on total loss vehicles. The Anti-Car Theft Act, passed in 1992, says insurance companies must report totaled vehicles to the federal government database, the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System, known as NMVTIS, but only if those vehicles are 5 years old or newer.
If the car is 6 years old when it's totaled, the average car out there on the road is what, 12 years old now? If a car is 6 years old, 7 years old in total, the insurance companies do not have to report it, not even to the federal database.
If I have a 2010 vehicle that gets totaled,
Yeah.
nobody needs to know about that on the federal level?
The insurance companies do not have to report it.
The solution, Brown says, change the law.
Get a one-phrase addition to the federal law that exists for the federal database that says insurance companies have to hand over all their damage data on all cars. End of question. Not 5-year limit and not total limit.
We took that suggestion to Bob Passmore, the department vice president of the American Property Casualty Insurance Association, which represents a large group of auto insurers.
Do you think that car insurance companies would be open to providing all of the information on a car regardless of the age?
We haven't discussed this with members for a very long time, so I wouldn't give you an answer yes or no, but there's certainly reasons why we wouldn't think that I wouldn't think that was necessary.
The way you protect yourself is you press a dealer and say, I'm not buying this car until I have it independently inspected by a body shop. Mechanic is good, body is especially good.
Back at Killian's shop, he agrees consumers need as much information as possible.
Knowledge is key. You got to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what to look for.
Here's another reason getting a trusted body shop to look at that used car is so important. Bernard says some of these wrecks are rebuilt in a matter of weeks before the title of the car can even be updated by a state as salvaged. In Kansas City, I'm Kristen Crowley.
Still ahead, a win for sports medicine.
We used to spend days or weeks trying to quantify the biomechanics of an athlete.
How researchers are using VR to keep young athletes out of the ER.
But first, lives lost or forever changed due to the actions of another.
To know that it could have been prevented is really salt in the wound because we can't do anything to bring her back.
A message from those who lost loved ones to people who got behind the wheel while under the influence. You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
That is a picture I love of him and I.
For Deborah Weinstein, the pain of losing a child never goes away.
This is the last day I saw my son with my daughter.
Her son David was just 2 days shy of his 30th birthday. In 2011, just outside St. Louis, Missouri, when he crossed paths with a drunk driver.
He was driving and the drunk driver had kind of been changing lanes, went into his lane, and both cars went off the road and started tumbling many times.
He died at the hospital, but not before he saved the lives of others as an organ donor.
In one instant, your life changes, that you get a call, you go to the hospital, and the next day, you're picking out a casket.
Every 79 seconds, someone is killed or injured in a drunk driving crash.
That means by the end of this story, 4 more lives will either be tragically cut short or likely changed forever.
But for the families of victims, they're not statistics. They're parents, children, siblings, friends, and more.
Reporter Caroline Hecker spoke to some of those mourning lost loved ones who say it's something they wouldn't wish on their worst enemy.
These fragile branches hold some of Jennifer Neldon's most treasured memories. Nestled within Heartland Park in Wentzville, a living, breathing reminder of all she's lost.
If it could affect our family, it can affect anybody.
Her 23-year-old daughter Grace was full of life. She'd started a new job and was about to get engaged. This video, taken just hours before everything changed.
She was stolen from me. And if I'm being very honest, I feel like she was murdered because it was preventable. It didn't have to happen.
Grace was headed home to Ellsbury after spending the evening with a friend. Driving north on Highway 79 near Old Monroe, a southbound driver trying to pass another car cut into her lane, hitting Grace head-on. She was killed instantly. The driver of the other car and 2 passengers also killed. Neldon says the teenage driver and her friends had just left a post-prom party and were intoxicated.
To know that it could have been prevented is really salt in the wound because we can't do anything to bring her back.
The site of the crash, now a sobering reminder of the 4 lives lost that night.
And I do hope, as painful as it is to look and see all of those crosses, I do hope that every time people drive past it, they're thinking,
getting intoxicated drivers off the road.
Okay, I'm gonna bring my finger up, just keep your head still.
Is St. Charles County Police Officer Zach Koch's favorite part of the job.
Big deep breath.
During a recent DUI patrol, this driver was arrested for driving under the influence.
DWI personally for me is by far my favorite. I love being out on the road at night, identifying the impaired drivers that are putting other people at risk, taking them off the road, and allowing people a chance to get home safely.
It's a crime Officer Koch says doesn't discriminate.
So go ahead and place your right foot in front of your left.
Across class, race, or gender. And often,
Eastbound 70 just before convention.
The devil is in the details.
Things like fluctuating speed, where someone's fluctuating their speed above and below the posted speed limit by 10 miles an hour. Making a wide right or left turn could be a clue. Maybe driving without headlights.
He says national data shows the average first-time offender has driven under the influence 80 times before they're caught. But when he does catch one,
would you be willing to do just a couple tests to make sure that you're okay to drive?
It's a rewarding feeling.
Right here.
Knowing he may have prevented another family from a lifetime of suffering.
The decision to get behind the wheel while under the influence doesn't just put lives at risk, it can be costly. The American Addiction Centers estimates the cost of a first-time DUI at between $10,000 to $25,000. Other penalties like jail time may vary by state.
Still ahead, pedaling toward progress. We reveal the idea behind this bike shop and the chain reaction that helps others.
But first, a virtual game changer.
The science has evolved greatly over the last 25 years.
The technology allowing young athletes to keep injuries at bay so they can focus on the play. You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
It's an opportunity for children to learn new skills, and it promotes teamwork and discipline.
We're talking about youth sports programs. According to Nationwide Children's Hospital, there are more than 45 million in the country.
But with competitive play comes the risk for injury. Each year, about 3 million children end up in the emergency room for a sports-related injury, making it the second leading cause of ER visits in children.
Experts tell us the most common injuries they see include sprains, fractures, and concussion.
However, there's a different type of injury getting more attention in the arena of sports medicine.
It's called overuse, which is the repeated stress of a bone, muscle, tendon, or ligament, often caused by overtraining. Without treatment, it can worsen over time. This has sports medicine researchers across the country looking for new ways to not only treat injuries, but prevent them.
Reporter Joshua Skinner shows us how one healthcare system went high-tech and turned to virtual reality.
Can virtual reality reduce sports injuries?
We work with athletes before they get injured.
Emory Healthcare Sports Performance and Research Center, SPARC, believes it can.
The science has evolved greatly over the last 25 years.
Spark director Dr. Greg Meyer has seen the science change.
We used to spend days or weeks trying to quantify the biomechanics of an athlete.
But now it can be done as it happens, and VR is the tip of the spear. But not just for professionals, this tech is for everyone.
We are testing all the athletes in Hall County, which is going to be 7 high schools and then several middle schools.
Called the GIVES program, possible because of a donation by the Arthur M. Blank Foundation, the scenarios, or games, literally puts athletes through the motions.
We can convert that data that's happening in real time to biofeedback that can correct the athlete's movement as they're performing.
That can help with poor form, reaction times, and even rehabilitation. This is all phase 1, and there's a bigger picture here.
Our moonshot on this is not only to make Hall County the healthiest county in the state, but in our future years, we want to make Georgia the healthiest state in the country.
Making kids more mobile, agile, with a little less hostile.
We know that what we're doing is going to help both athletes and students.
We want to go in-depth now on how parents can help protect their child from these injuries.
Experts say they can start by encouraging kids to try out different sports as opposed to specializing in just one.
And that is playing a single sport all year long, quitting all their sports, and saying this is my main sport.
Dr. Neeru Jayanthi is the Director of Sports Medicine Research and Education at Emory University School of Medicine. He says today children typically begin participating in organized sports 4 years earlier than they did 20 years ago.
You know, you have 3-sport athletes and people are playing all sorts of things, but now those days have really diminished to single sport athletes.
With this culture shift, Dr. Jayanthi says one-sport athletes are at higher risk for injury. His 2017 study found no evidence that intense training before puberty was necessary to achieve elite status in that sport. He did find children who specialized in one organized sport were also more likely to experience psychological stress and more likely to quit at a young age.
So we're fine with you going and playing every day, with your friends in the park. But having organized practices all week long seems to be a bigger risk.
And when it comes to introducing young children to sports, he says leave the competition on the sideline and focus on the fun.
Like, that's the only question you should be asking. Are you enjoying yourself? Are you having fun? Because that's what keeps them in it.
Dr. Jayanthi says the best thing you can do is what's called free play, something we used to do a lot as kids, playing in the park, pick up basketball, things that are free with no stakes, just friends.
And when the time for competition comes, be your child's biggest cheerleader.
It is a very difficult process. Enjoy the successes and don't show disappointment. Kids are very perceptive, especially from their own parents. Like, there's the one set of people that they really rely on for that support and positivity.
Well, still ahead, a spoke of hope.
And if they don't know how to do it, we can teach them how to replace it, use our equipment to do so.
We reveal how this shop uses DIY and a little TLC to empower its customers to ride.
I'm Viv Williams with this medical mythbuster moment. The myth, air conditioners can give you a cold. Maybe you've heard the buzz on social media about the aircon flu. The truth is, air conditioners don't cause colds. Viruses do. That's according to Dr. Kwame Akoto, a family medicine doctor from Kaiser Permanente in Baltimore. He says there's no evidence to support the idea that air conditioners cause colds. However, he says being in air conditioning may make you feel like you have a cold with symptoms like a scratchy throat or nose because air conditioning can reduce moisture in the air, which may cause your airway to dry out. He notes that poorly operating or malfunctioning air conditioners can be full of bacteria and mold, which can also cause cold-like symptoms. So be sure to maintain your air conditioner properly, replace the filter regularly, and remove any water that accumulates. With this medical mythbuster moment, I'm Viv Williams.
For some, a bicycle offers a fun way to exercise and get outdoors. For others, it can be the only means of reliable transportation to get to work, pick up prescriptions, and more.
A group of cycling enthusiasts in Phoenix, Arizona recognized this and set up a bike shop with a different kind of business model.
Reporter Michaela Castillo shows us how.
Another typical day here at the Rusty Spoke. Thomas Huntz grabs his tools and gets to work.
One of the guys that shows up every shift. I used to ride and work on bikes when I was very young, and it just came back, and I have a certain talent.
Thomas has been volunteering here for 7 years. It helped ground him and keep him moving in a time of need.
The Spoke Park provided a place for me to have access to the tools. I'm on a fixed income, so it also helped me because I can't always afford to go and buy brand new stuff myself.
Thomas is one of many community members who've benefited from the dozens of bikes here in the shop.
Our customers can't afford to ride the bus. It's either that or walk.
It's an honor system. Volunteers can put in time to earn a bike or bike parts.
All of our used parts, except the high-end stuff, have a dollar value and a time value. If somebody that needs a tire can come in and either pay $5 or work 20 minutes and get the tire. And then if they don't know how to do it, we can teach them how to replace it, use our equipment to do so.
More than putting these old bikes to good use, it's also a means for opportunity and productivity for neighbors in need.
Provide a place they can, just with their time, have a place to earn the bike and get the transportation, to get that little bit of independence they may not have otherwise.
Making a difference, one pedal at a time.
On that bike sitting in the garage, collecting dust it's not doing you any good, it can do someone else a lot of good.
And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, a family claims a new train route could derail their legacy.
I go back to where my father said, keep the land. The land gives you respect, gives you respectability. Everybody around here knows that this is the Smith land down here.
How their fight to keep their farmed land highlights a history of eminent domain cases targeting communities of color.